Abducted by ISIS, the terror group strikes another minority in Syria, this time targeting a large group of Christians. Also ahead, knocked off its tracks, a California train smashes into a truck, scattering wreckage in all directions. We'll go live to the scene where investigators are trying to find out exactly what happened. And later, drones aloft. From military to business to personal use, the skies are filling up with mechanical mosquitoes. So who controls where they go? CNN News Centre starts right now. Hello everyone, I'm Lynda Kinkade. We begin with a mass abduction by the terror group ISIS. In Syria's northeast, the militants swept into two villages, kidnapping dozens of Assyrian Christians. The human rights group says they took women, children and the elderly. Those lucky enough to escape fled for their lives, seeking shelter at a cathedral. Advocates say many of them did not have food, water or other basic essentials. Assyrians have been targeted in Iraq as well. Let's get more on what happened and what it says about ISIS's tactics. Senior international correspondent Ben Wedeman joins us now from Erbil, Iraq. And Ben, this appears to be the largest mass abduction of a religious minority carried out by ISIS. What can you tell us about it?
Human Rights Network that at around 4 o'clock this morning, a force of ISIS fighters entered these two villages in the Hasakeh province, which is in northeastern Syria. There they entered these houses. The village was very lightly guarded by local men. They entered these houses. They abducted, according to the Assyrian Human Rights Network, between 70 and 100 people, mostly, they said, women, children, and the elderly. They said that another 700 families were able to flee to the nearby city of Hasakeh, where they are staying in churches. Now, this is an area that had been relatively peaceful until recently. These are villages sort of out in an open, wide plains in a farming area of Syria. Now, we also understand, of course, that after the fall of Kobani to the Kurdish forces in Syria, the so-called YPG, ISIS has been being pushed back and back, losing a lot of territory. So this may be some attempt by ISIS to open up a new front as they're taking pressure in another area.
Ben, do you think their latest captives will be used as bargaining chips, or like the Coptic Christians in Libya, are the terrorists likely to carry out executions quickly?
It's hard to make that sort of prediction. Now, in the past, in fact, some Assyrians in that part of Syria had been kidnapped, abducted by ISIS, and they were handed back. There were negotiations through tribal sources that ended in their release. But we've seen in other instances Christians, Yazidis, and others who have been kidnapped, women and children, often sold as slaves. The men often executed, so it's hard to say what their fate it will be, but certainly if you go by past experience, it may not be a bright future. Lynda? And
Ben, you've been on the front lines with Peshmerga forces. The battle continues, of course, on the outskirts of Erbil. What is the latest from the front line?
Yeah, we were about 45 minutes from Erbil to the west of here, where we spent much of the afternoon at a Kurdish position on a hill overlooking a river on the opposite bank. Of course, ISIS controls the territory there. What we saw was mostly outgoing fire from the Kurdish positions in the direction of ISIS. They're firing heavy machine guns, light machine guns, mortars, and rockets in that direction. So it's certainly the front seems to be holding fairly well there. In the late afternoon, ISIS fired back with a few mortar rounds, but certainly most of the fire seems to be coming from the Kurds. We saw some of them had new weapons, AK-47s. So the situation, at least on that front, seems to be holding fairly firm at the moment. Lynda?
Okay, Ben Wedeman in Erbil, Iraq. We will talk to you very soon. Thank you very much for that report. Meanwhile, London police say they now believe the 3 teenage girls who flew from Britain to Turkey last week have entered Syria. UK police have been working closely with Turkish officials and believe the girls are travelling to join ISIS. British Prime Minister David Cameron talked about the missing girls and ISIS recruitment earlier today in Parliament. Take a listen.
The school to be combating extremism. We need the community to be doing as much as it can. You know, that's the point about the whole duty, the prevent duty we're putting on all these institutions, is to say we're all in this together, we've all got to play a role. We also need social media organisations to do more in terms of help. They are helping take down pages and pages of extremist material, but there is more they can do.